Is Tekken 8 Game of the Year? While we're a little more than halfway done with the year, there is a lot of great titles, at least solid games. I know people can have an argument as to like gaming can be a bit stale at times, depending on what your flavor is. I have a full expansion library, and I don't just play certain types of genres, so I'm just a down gamer all day. When I think of Tekken 8, I think that it can fall into a category of Game of the Year. Now, let me explain. There's your overall in totality Game of the Year, and then there's something off to the side, what we usually call the niche community, the FGC fighting games, and getting fighting game of the year. So there's overall Game of the Year and fighting game of the year. Now, there's arguments for both for Tekken. I think Tekken has taken a massive leap this time around with Tekken 8. And personally, it's my game of the year just due to how much the learning curve has gone through. And also Tekken 8 is a game that also has not like really inspired me to play any other games just because of how hard it is, how much you learn. And today I was literally fighting Tekken gods, and the learning curve I was actually embracing was so fun. And therefore, Tekken 8 for me personally has a massive place in my heart now. I am brand new to the franchise also, so Tekken 8 is my first ever Tekken. And it has been so fun learning at least a handful of characters before I actually really stay on a main character and just master the shit out of them. But that's another story for another time. As far as Game of the Year, I think the aesthetics, the art, the music, the content, and just what they're overall providing, even on top of doing like a fighting game battle pass type-esque, that kind of puts them into some type of format where they're really going for a mainstream push, at least at launch. Things that I felt Mortal Kombat would have possibly done, Tekken 8 did this time around. The mix-up, the aggression gameplay, the 50-50s, a lot of guesswork, a lot of just like overall just aggro gameplay where you had to adapt, or the mechanism stayed the same, but the legacy aspect of the game has really stayed true to who they are. So whoever you mained, it's like basically you can just main them forever if they're actually in the game, of course. But when it comes to Game of the Year, you look at a lot of formats, just how it makes you feel, how it looks, how it performs. At launch, was it actually good, right? We know these days games, like, I don't know, they just have weird launches at time. So I feel that Tekken has a lot of that I think could check the boxes for Game of the Year. But again, fighting games are very niche. When you look to the other end of the spectrum, fighting game of the year is no hesitation. The current title holder is Street Fighter 6, and rightfully so. I started my fighting career again, I would say, because I played fighting games way back then casually. This past year, at least from Street Fighter 6 now, which is almost a year, well, Street Fighter has its year anniversary. Mortal Kombat almost has its year anniversary in October. I think it's October, right? Oh, September, late September. And Tekken 8. So within this year span from 2023 to now, currently, fighting games I had taken way more seriously, competitive, and trying to learn every attribution of them, just because I feel like they took a massive leap in trying to gain a mainstream audience, trying to make it accessible, not necessarily easy, but accessible. And when you make games like these accessible, kind of like not a simple to pick up, hard to master, I feel that that's what the adrenaline rush is in these games nowadays. So when Street Fighter 6 dropped, rightfully so, they are fighting game of the year, which is rightfully so, because Street Fighter 6, I think, could not have only won fighting game of the year. I actually think they would have had a run at actual game of the year if they would have put some more in depth into the World Tour. The World Tour is what really captivated me, because I used to think, like, you know, I played like Street Fighter 2 way back then, back in the 90s, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and all that stuff. But what brought me back was that Street Fighter 6 was actually initially a filler game for me. And so then winning fighting game of the year, I was like, oh, that's easy. Like, what they done for that game, they have done for that game has been rightfully so. They put a lot of content into that game. They put a lot of effort into that game. I think that game, I still put it under Tekken 8, but them winning last year, oh, no question, that's easy. It captivated me to actually start streaming again. I used to stream like just like Call of Duty and stuff, and like create content around kind of just more of a variety. But when Street Fighter 6 started really taking off and it launched and everything, just like the battle hub, like the music, the hip hop oriented style, I thought like, oh shit, like this has a lot of potential, you know, and rightfully so. It did have the most potential as the fighting game of the year. I think that artwork was really good. But again, it was still a 2D game. I remember these from like way back then. Up until this point, I had never played a 3D style game. So I was playing Street Fighter for a while, did World Tour, played Rank, did all that. You know, did the whole thing, what we usually do in fighting games. Learn some characters, create your own, have fun with it. I wish the World Tour would have really went way more in depth, though. That would have been so cool, honestly. I really wish the World Tour would have went more in depth. If that World Tour would have brought out like a massive story, I think that Street Fighter 6 would have excelled in like an actual mainstream and everything. It brought me back to fighting games. It was a filler game, and I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna keep playing this World Tour. I'll play against that, and it was so fun. It was such a captivating game, but what made it still felt limiting in my opinion. So then Mortal Kombat 1 comes out, which I'm super hyped for, because when it comes to casuals, we all know how much Mortal Kombat is an actual party game. It's just a fun arcadey game that should have been stuck to that type of component of being fully an arcade game. This time around, it looks like they tried dipping their foot a little bit too much into the competitive scene, and it's kind of backfired, but they're now finding their identity once again, Mortal Kombat, in my opinion. It is a slower drip fed. Aside from content, even the content kind of took a little while. I think MK11 overall still had better content, but MK1 is really starting to catch back up again with their content. If they could level up that gameplay and just not really focus on what like competition aspects, because the numbers already show that people don't like this game competitively. So if they could just stick to like what made it fun in the first place, I feel that they could be okay, like a 9 and an X style or a remaster, or like really just grabbing all those mechanics and just throw them in there. I don't know how you'll do that. It sounds way easier than it actually is, but still, if they can figure out components like that to really fulfill that need of Mortal Kombat players, I know that they can bring a massive audience back to it. So I played Mortal Kombat. I don't think that was Game of the Year. Street Fighter 6, well deserved for sure, at least for fighting Game of the Year. Then we look into Tekken 8's release in January. I was like, yo, I didn't actually get it at first because I was still kind of grinding Mortal Kombat a little bit. It was in that last of that honeymoon phase. It dropped like October-ish, and you had November, December, then January. After that, Mortal Kombat got a little dull anyway, so I was like, you know what, I'll just play Tekken, see if I like it, see what's happening. Started playing Tekken, and I was like, yes. There's... I think it's just the name that kind of scares even more casuals away, just because a game like Tekken is very intricate in the mechanics, and it's known for legacy players carrying over year in, year out, similar to like what Call of Duty does. Like any legacy game where you put in time into one game, like NBA 2K, NFL, and Madden and everything like that, where you put in like a lot of hours into like one or two of these games throughout their like tenured franchise, that you're pretty much solid throughout for the rest of your life as long as these games continuously release. And they will, because a lot of these titles are huge and they will continuously release. So as a legacy player, I'm sure that the mainstream kind of overlooked this game, because I kind of did that myself when I thought like, Tekken, I just don't know if I'll like Tekken. And I gave it a try. It was tough. Of course, it's a really tough game if you're new to the franchise. Now, this is definitely predominantly the easiest Tekken, but what's easy for a casual now is also easy for the pro players to pick up, the advanced players that have been playing this game. Aside from a couple of light adjustments, they're already right back in the flow and playing at the highest level ever. And that's because it's rightfully so. They're at the highest level. And they have been playing this game and studying it and having knowledge checks and legacy play. For short, it's legacy players. But when I understood the learning curve of it, the emotion I felt on learning it, you have to be someone that is really, really wanting to learn something. You have to have the hunger to learn. You have to stay focused. You have to understand. It's definitely a mental battle when you play these games, because a game like Tekken, by far, is always on the top 10 games of being the most difficult game of all time. And that's because it's rightfully so. It's Tekken. It's a 3D fighting game that now is a lot more aggressive, that causes for a lot of mental thought processes. And so like what I said, you have to love this game to really, and you can't, I mean, there's gimmicks and everything. I just feel like today's a great example. I was streaming Tekken and I went back to Mortal Kombat, and you could feel the drastic difference in gameplay versus Tekken and Mortal Kombat. Not just the way it looks or the way it plays, but how you have to play. There's a different mentality when you go from Tekken to Mortal Kombat. Tekken literally like wants you to be in your opponent's face and fighting and figuring out ways to either mix, play defense, counter, punish, or just have the right 50-50. You know, have a great mix up to it that your opponent cannot understand what you're doing, even if they have knowledge check on the character. While Mortal Kombat, there's kind of just like a lot of weird ways to win the game. People don't have to be like necessarily better than a lot of people. They could just find ways to win throughout projectile battles, maybe finding the right cameo to fit into their play style. You can make your characters play your style, which is actually cool. And when you say it out loud, it is cool, but it just has a lot of limitations in there that doesn't feel like the way Tekken felt. So when I went from Tekken to Mortal Kombat, Tekken, I was getting into some battles. I'm not talking about I wasn't just battling like red rings or purple. Like I was in matches today, Kishin, Tekken gods all day. You know, like I was really in there in that mix, man. Tekken Kings, and so you could see the aspirations of like Tekken players, and then you see like the way Mortal Kombat plays. Mortal Kombat's a lot of low blocks, grabs, a lot of projectile battles. That's probably the top 3 things, which is crazy, and a down poke, which is usually the fastest frames. And I think like, damn, when I say this out loud, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like how limiting Mortal Kombat is, which is why Tekken rewards you for like playing aggressive. And that was like MKX, MK9, you know, and Mortal Kombat did that. But in my opinion, Tekken 8 can have an argument for being Game of the Year. I think if their story was a lot better, right? These fighting games are not known for stories. If they could put in that time the way Mortal Kombat does for an actual story mode, I think fighting games can really start being in the talk of being like in Game of the Years. But they're just such a small niche that will continue to be a small niche. But I'm glad that another game like Tekken 8 is mainstreaming it, despite how superiorly competitive the game is. All day at every competition is either going to be Street Fighter 6 and Tekken having the most entrances, the most people signing up to compete in those games, and also winning the most money, right? These games win a lot of money. They pay out more than even Mortal Kombat, which is pretty crazy if you think about it, because Mortal Kombat is the most mainstream game, at least franchise-wise. Now, I know a lot of people always argue with me when they're like, Mortal Kombat's not even that popular. Well, yeah, that you're talking about current times. I just meant like overall as a franchise. Like if you hold Mortal Kombat sales all together, hold Tekken 8 sales all together, hold Street Fighter 6 or hold Street Fighter sales all together, Mortal Kombat leads that. And I'm pretty sure it'll be Street Fighter next, then Tekken. I don't know. That's a good one right there. I don't know who wins in the overall franchise. Probably Street Fighter, I think, because it's been out a little bit longer. It's been out a little longer since Tekken has, because it's been out since like the cartridge days. So I don't know. Tekken 8, for sure, in my opinion, fighting game of the year. Can it win a mainstream base? I really think that it is possible for a fighting game. I don't even know when the last time a fighting game won just actual game of the year. But you also have things like Elden Ring DLC still around and Wukong now. There's just a lot of games where it's even hard to put Tekken in that. But fighting game of the year, hands down, that's easy. But we just don't know how. I don't know when's the last time a fighting game did win. So maybe I need to do some research on that. Or if y'all know it, man, y'all make sure y'all be commenting on that. But overall, it's Tekken 8 game of the year. It's my game of the year. I'm someone who has been proud to be playing Tekken right now. From learning to the replay system to just everything and just how fast it gets to the point. When I play games, especially nowadays as I get older, I just want to get to the point, you know, and now I'm a new legacy player moving forward. Now I love Tekken. It's fun. And learning a lot of the characters has also been fun too. Learning the knowledge checks has been fun. So now as a player, it's cool to just get out the meaty process of the game, which is kind of getting some type of knowledge checks on a lot of characters. Now understanding like when to punish, when to sidestep, when to hold your sidesteps. Tekken, of course, breaking throws is usually one of the harder things. So I'm glad to be learning those as time moves on. But just, it's my personal game of the year. I haven't felt like this since like maybe like COVID, Call of Duty, when Call of Duty changed my life at that point. Also, Warzone was like peak at that time. And so I can't thank Warzone enough for like changing my life in those essences. And Tekken has changed my life right now. That me as someone who's loved Mortal Kombat all my life has literally grown up on Mortal Kombat. I can't really say that I can put Tekken 8 over Mortal Kombat 1 as easy as I thought I would be. Tekken 8 by far is a way better game than Mortal Kombat 1 right now. And I will continuously enjoy it. I will continuously cherish it. And I would love the emotion that it brings out, the music, the delivery, the learning. Even when I'm getting my ass kicked, I'm having a great time. If I'm down 2-0 and trying to come back 3-0, it's so fun. Rematch the set, get it rolling. And it's something that it's so hard to explain, like how much passion it takes to play this game. But man, it is well deserved for any talks, even for like an actual game of the year, not just fighting game of the year. I love this game so much and I appreciate it so much. And I wanted to make this video because it has made me a lot more confident in what I can do. It's so fun and I can't thank it enough, man. So Tekken 8, being a brand new player to the franchise, it has hooked me to now know that I'm a legacy player moving forward. And what's crazy is that I know like Tekken 7 was out for like what, like 8 years or something like that. If this game is out that long, I'm just gonna be so happy to be learning this game slowly. I am taking a marathon approach and learning this game, and it has been so fun. Is it game of the year? Probably not in the mainstream eyes. It's my game of the year for sure. Is it fighting game of the year? Absolutely, man. Y'all let me know y'all's thoughts. What is game of the year? I think it's gonna be Elden Ring, probably DLC. Do DLCs actually get game of the year? I don't even know, man. Y'all let me know. Peace.